I felt pretty butch. Emmerdale spoilers follow. Emmerdale star Mark Charnock has spoken about his character Marlon Dingle going head-to-head with Ross Barton again. Tensions between Marlon and Ross escalate next week as April Windsor's behavior starts to spiral out of control. Upcoming episodes see April start to rebel against her family as she struggles to process her recent kidnap ordeal and the revelations about her mom Donna's death. Ross recently explained to April that Donna, who was terminally ill, sacrificed her own life to save her from evil criminal Gary North in 2014. His honesty had an unexpected outcome as April immediately blamed herself for what had happened. Next week, Marlon is outraged to discover that April has been trying to buy cannabis. He confronts Ross and pins him against a wall, claiming that he's to blame for April's recent rebellions. Speaking to Digital Spy and other press about the dramatic scene, Mark laughed, "I felt pretty butch." Mike Purr, who plays Ross, is brilliant. That's a really well-written scene by Peter Carey, who's one of the writers. Marlon grabs Ross because he sees him coming out of his own house. April has given him the keys so he can squat in Marlon's house. It's outrageous. Ross says something provocative and Marlon pins him to the wall. What's great about the scene is Ross doesn't even raise his arm, he just says, "Look, I'm going to make you regret this in a minute." The minute Marlon grabs him, they both know the power only lies with one person, and it's not the gangling idiot who's grabbed Ross. That was really fun to play, actually. Somewhere along the line I wonder if there'll be a meeting of minds between Ross and Marlon. There's a connection there, there's so much history with them. It's been great to play. Asked whether Marlon feels threatened by Ross, Mark replied, "I think there's an element of jealousy there. I think there was before because Ross had such a close relationship with April. There's no point denying it. I think Marlon has got a right to feel like that about Ross a little bit. It's not entirely unjust." Ross's personal history outside of the relationship makes him a suspicious character. Marlon's ego is threatened by it and he feels like, "She's mine." I think if he was more open-minded, he could see that April could get so much more out of that connection with someone who was so close to Donna. But Marlon's not ready for that, I think. What's lucky for me is I get to film scenes with Mike, who I just love working with. He's terrific and a very generous actor. I'm always lucky to work with great people, but it's just nice working with Mike, who I've not seen for a few years, obviously. Despite the tensions, Marlon may be forced to rely on Ross for support when April mysteriously goes missing on Christmas Day. Marlon is forced to consider the possibility that April's disappearance could be connected to Ross's enemy Jade, who has already kidnapped the teenager once before. Mark said, "Marlon goes to Bob for help first and he goes to see other family members. He also goes to see Ross." For more Emmerdale Christmas gossip, don't forget to check out our collection of 7 spoilers from next week's episodes and 20 spoiler pictures. Emmerdale airs on weeknights at 7:30 p.m. on ITV1 and streams on ITVX. I felt pretty butch. Mark Charnock opens up on Marlon and Ross's explosive showdown in Emmerdale. Emmerdale spoilers ahead. Mark Charnock, who plays Marlon Dingle on ITV's Emmerdale, has shed light on the brewing tension between his character and Ross Barton, played by Mike Parr. Next week's episodes promise a dramatic escalation as Marlon and Ross clash, with Marlon's daughter April Windsor caught in the middle. This conflict is set to reach new heights, as April's rebellious behavior leaves her family scrambling to cope. April's downward spiral. April's recent struggles stem from her kidnapping ordeal and the shocking revelations about her late mother, Donna. Viewers will recall that Donna, terminally ill at the time, sacrificed herself in 2014 to protect April from dangerous criminal Gary North. Ross, who was deeply connected to Donna, recently told April the truth about her mother's actions. However, his honesty backfired, with April internalizing guilt over her mother's fate. Mark Charnock explained, "April is a young girl trying to process an unimaginable amount of trauma. Learning the details of her mother's death has only deepened her feelings of guilt and confusion. Marlon is doing his best, but it's a lot for any father to navigate." April's pain manifests in rebellious behavior, culminating in her attempting to buy cannabis, a shocking revelation that leaves Marlon furious and desperate to regain control. A tense confrontation. When Marlon discovers April's troubling actions, he quickly pins the blame on Ross. In a dramatic scene, Marlon confronts Ross outside his home and accuses him of influencing April's rebellion. Speaking about the intense moment, Mark Charnock revealed, "I felt pretty butch. Mike Pear is brilliant to work with, and this scene was fantastically written by Peter Carey." Marlon's rage boils over when he sees Ross exiting his house, knowing April gave him the keys to squat there. It's outrageous to him. Charnock continued, "Ross says something provocative and Marlon reacts by grabbing him and pinning him against the wall. But what's fascinating is Ross's calm response. He doesn't even raise his arm, simply warning Marlon that he'll regret his actions. The power dynamic is clear, and Marlon realizes he's the underdog in this confrontation. It was a lot of fun to film." Jealousy and suspicion. When asked if Marlon feels threatened by Ross, Mark admitted that jealousy plays a significant role in the conflict. "There's definitely an element of jealousy," he said. "Ross's close bond with April has always been a sore spot for Marlon. It's not just about Ross's shady past, it's also about Marlon's ego. He's her dad, and he feels possessive of that relationship." Mark added, "If Marlon were more open-minded, he'd see the value in April's connection with Ross. Ross was incredibly close to Donna and could offer April insights and memories of her mom that Marlon simply can't. But Marlon isn't ready to acknowledge that yet." Despite the animosity, Mark praised his co-star Mike Pear, saying, "Mike is such a generous actor. I'm lucky to work with amazing people, and it's been a joy reconnecting with Mike after a few years." Christmas chaos. April goes missing. The drama intensifies on Christmas Day when April mysteriously disappears. Her sudden absence leaves Marlon frantic, forcing him to consider the possibility of foul play. One suspect is Jade, a known enemy of Ross, who has already kidnapped April once before. Mark elaborated, "Marlon's worst fears come to life when April vanishes. Initially, he turns to Bob and other family members for help. But as the hours pass, he realizes he has no choice but to involve Ross. The situation forces Marlon and Ross to set aside their differences, at least temporarily. While their partnership is uneasy, both men share a deep concern for April's safety. A glimmer of hope. Despite their fraught relationship, Mark hinted at the possibility of a future truce between Marlon and Ross. "Somewhere along the line, I wonder if there'll be a meeting of minds between them," he mused. There's so much history and emotional baggage, but there's also a shared connection through Donna and April. It's a complex dynamic, and it's been great to explore that as an actor. What's next for Emmerdale? As viewers gear up for an explosive Christmas storyline, the stakes have never been higher for Marlon, Ross, and April. Will they find common ground in time to rescue April, or will their animosity prove to be their downfall? For more Emmerdale spoilers and insights, don't miss our exclusive previews and photo galleries showcasing what's ahead. Tune in to Emmerdale Weeknights at 7:30 p.m. on ITV1, with streaming available on ITVX.